there is bread in Bethlehem. Of course there's bread in Bethlehem. There's always bread in Bethlehem. I've never been to Bethlehem that there wasn't bread. Oh yeah. When you're hungry, there's always, when you're hungry, there is always bread in Bethlehem, because it is the house of bread. Amen. If we come into the service and go back out and say, well, I didn't get nothing out of that, it's because you came too full. That means you've not emptied anything out this week, and you're still left over, filled to the brim from last week. But you empty out everything you've got and give away what God has given you, so that you come in that door hungry. Then your hunger draws that river of the anointing right into the service. Hallelujah! 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 Now, she sends Ruth and Orpah back.
Yes, thank you, Lord.
Ruth says, entreat me not to leave thee, nor from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go. And whither thou lodgest, I will lodge. Your people will be my people. Watch God rewrite her life. And your God shall be my God. And the minute Ruth says that, your God, Naomi, is going to be my God. Watch everything begin to change. Now, Ruth and Naomi start the journey back. Now, you know, it's an interesting thing. It's about 70 miles from Moab back to Bethlehem. It is a steep, rugged terrain. You have to cross the Jordan River, and I believe it was 2,000 or 10,000, it's in my note, 2,000 feet elevation. So that means you've got to climb up. She should have smacked her husband. I didn't. I need to say it. I need to suck that back in. Yeah. So now this trip back is 70 miles, 2,000 feet elevation, rugged, a steep elevation, and across the Jordan River. And finally she gets back. And the women come running to her and say, oh, Naomi, we're so glad you're back. We're so glad. We've missed you. Don't call me Naomi. I'm Mara. I'm Mara because I'm bitter. I'm bitter at life. I'm bitter at God. I'm bitter at everything around me. Look at all the bad things that have happened to me. So I've become bitter. And if we're not careful, you look at your circumstances and your name becomes Mara. And you're bitter because it didn't work out like I wanted it to. And I'm bitter because God didn't heal him when I wanted him to heal him. And I'm bitter because God didn't move in my life like I thought he was going to move. And I'm bitter because this didn't work out right. And I'm bitter because I didn't get a promotion on my job. Next thing you know, your name has become Mara. And you're bitter. But the truth is, let's say it again, he knows your end from your beginning. And he works all things together for your good. And so our job is not to judge whether this is the right thing or the wrong thing for my life. My job is to trust in the Lord with all my heart, lean not to my own understanding, in all my ways acknowledge him, and let him direct my path. Amen, 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 amen. All right? Now, they get back to Bethlehem. Now, the only way the only way two widows are going to survive is they leave grain in the corners of the field. I think that's amazing. They leave grain in the corner. They don't harvest the corners. And they leave the corners so that the widows can go and glean the corners. And so Ruth goes out. Naomi said, Ruth, go out to a field and gather in grain. It's the only way we're going to be able to eat. Now, Ruth don't know anybody. She's from Moab. She just has to find a field. Now, I know it's amazing that she just happened upon Boaz's field. Oh, isn't that a coincidence? And then I'm going to say, this is my opinion, the Bible don't say this, I'm just saying this. I think Ruth was a looker. Oh yeah, I think she was a looker. The reason I think that is because Boaz asked his servant, who is that woman cleaning over there? She wasn't ugly. That girl's a looker. She's a 6-ounce Coke bottle. You can count it. Yeah. And so, who is it? Well, that's Ruth. That was Mahlon's wife. She's a widow. She's come back from Moab. She's come back with Naomi to take care of Naomi. Leave her a little extra grain.
There you go.
Make just some. I'm telling you, she was a looker. Leave her some extra grain in the corners of the field. Now, Ruth comes home with, whether it's in her apron or in a basket, whatever, I mean, loaded down with grain. I mean, an amazing amount of grain. And Naomi said, Ruth, where have you been? Where did you get all this grain? Whose field were you in? I don't know. And, you know, it's a big field. And they said his name was, I don't know, something like Boaz or something. Boaz? Hey, Boaz, that's our kinsman redeemer. Boaz, that's our little ex-brother. Boaz, he's rich. Boaz, hey, y'all got to get married. That's just all there is to it. Yeah. We're going to hook you up. Yeah. Now, it's harvest time. I know the Bible don't say this, but I'm a girl. I know how girls operate.
That's right.
So here's what Naomi does. She fixes that hair. Come in here, Ruth. Let's get you a new hairdo. Got to do something with that hair. Fixes that hair good. Gives her some smelly stuff. Maybe frankincense or myrrh or something. I don't know what they put on. But maybe something like that. Got her smelling real good. Got that hair. Here, put this dress on. I mean,
Sister was looking
got
good.
Got that dress on, it is fine. Got that hair done, it is fine. Got that smelly stuff on, it is fine. She said, now, Ruth, you go down to the threshing floor. And when Boaz goes to sleep, you just lay your head down at his feet and uncover his feet. Ooh, I'm telling you, I love the way they courted. Ruth goes in, she's a bold little thing, I'm telling you. Goes in, lays down at Boaz's feet, and he's 80 years old. Boaz is 80 years old. He's 80. Uncovers his feet. He wakes up and says, I'm going to the gate in the morning. I'm throwing my shoe on the ground. Hallelujah. We're getting engaged. Hallelujah. She's 40, he's 80. The next morning he gets up, he goes to the gate of the city. He said, I want Naomi, or I want Ruth. Throws that shoe on the ground. It's a done deal. They're engaged. Hallelujah. Now, don't you love it? I love that. I don't know if Ronnie would throw his boots away for me, though. I'm just going to tell you. I'd like to believe he would. They better. All right. Now, he threw his shoe on the ground. It's a done deal. They're engaged. They get married. Now, here it is again. You ever wonder how long Boaz and Ruth are married? They don't ever talk about their days together like they do Sarah and Abraham. So how long were they married? Well, here's what I found out. I went on Google, because Google, he knows everything. And he took me to Wikipedia. Wikipedia took me to the Jewish scholars. Now, here's what the Jewish scholars believe. He lived one day. One. That's what they believe. They believe he lived one day because from the day he was married to Ruth, there is no record of anything he ever did after that. Now, why is that important? To me, it's important for this reason. It's important because Ruth is married to Mahlon for however many years. And her womb closed up. She couldn't bring forth seed. God would not allow her to bring forth seed. She's married to Boaz one day. One day. And has seed planted in her womb that is going to be the lineage of Jesus Christ. Here's another thing. You reckon the Lord didn't know that Boaz is about to die? Well, I reckon he did. And so what does he do? He orchestrates this whole story. He brings Ruth back with Naomi. He pulls Ruth right into Boaz's field. Why? Because he's carrying that scarlet thread right on down. And so here's Rahab, a harlot, and she's going to have Boaz. Boaz is going to marry an idol worshiper that has now acknowledged that God, the God of Israel, is really God. And so now, one day, that's not a coincidence. So what did God do? As long as she was a Moabite, he shut her womb. You're not going to have fruit. The minute she gets in his will, right where she's supposed to be, married to Boaz, ready to carry that lineage on down, one day, and now she has seed, and it's going to be Obed, and Obed, it will be Jesse, and from Jesse, it will be David, and then you'll go down 1,000 years, and what's going to happen? A baby is going to be born in Bethlehem again, the house of bread. Hallelujah. And the living bread is going to be born in the house of bread 1,000 years later. Hallelujah. 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 Now, why does all that even matter? It matters to me because every once in a while the enemy tells me I'm off in left field somewhere. And I don't have my act together right. And that I should be doing this or doing that. But when I read the story of that lineage of Jesus Christ, and the fact that he raises up whom he will, and he casts down whom he will, he makes one to honor and another to dishonor. He has a woman that has been married 4 times, and the one now that she's living with is not her husband, goes right from that woman. Next thing you know, here is Rahab. Rahab is an idol worshiper and a harlot, and moves her right into Israel. And she has Boaz, brings in a Moabite, hallelujah, and brings her right in, and she acknowledges the God of heaven. And now you're going to have Obed, and then from Obed to Jesse, and from Jesse to David, and from David on down to Jesus Christ. You know what that means? I don't care what's going on around about you. You're in the hands of a never failing, never changing God. You're not just floating around. You're not just beating around. He's got you in the very hollow of his hand. Hallelujah. And there's absolutely nothing that the devil can do to get you out of his hand. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. What about this? My little mom gets saved at 17. She says by her own confession, Jesus is my first boyfriend. Then she meets my daddy and marries him. That's her second boyfriend. From all of her life, my mom serves God. I don't mean just halfway serves God. My mom was the real deal. She was for real serving God. And then at the same time, 4 of her 6 children were on drugs. 2 of them smoking pot, and the other 2 on narcotics. All at the same, 4 out of 6. Now, you think the enemy never talked to her and said, if you were really what you were supposed to be with God, except Mom didn't know the end from the beginning. She just had to trust. And when her neighbors and her best friends said, you need to cut them loose. You need to cut Mike and Mickey loose. Because they're gonna ruin the rest of your kids. And so you just have to cut your losses and run them off. Don't let them come back. And just save your other 4. And my mom said, I told them, I can't really do that. can't really do that because you see, I carried Becky in my womb for 9 months. And I don't approve of what she's doing, but that's my daughter. Drug addict or not, that's my daughter. One day she was an executive secretary working for the mayor, and she was my daughter. Now she's a heroin addict. She's still my daughter. And then I have to believe that one day out there somewhere, God's going to get hold of her. And when you could see none of that, I just believe that God's going to get hold of her and turn her all the way around. Amen. You understand? If we're not careful, we get all flustered and fretted and bent out of shape because things aren't the way they're supposed to be. That's what happened to Elimelech. And so instead of waiting and trusting, he ran off to Moab. Amen. Well, I don't want to jump in